to go live. Just so you know,
We're live.
says we're live. Nancy says we're live, but I never believe it. So I'm going to wait. Actually, I'm going to do the same thing I always do, which is I go to my Twitter timeline. I just don't trust technology. I really don't. I know the day I trust them is the day they fool me and I see us. We are live. We did it.
Let me try to find you, though.
Yes, I'm there. Oh, and I see Mustang is here already. So thank you so much. And Party Through It USA, thank you. I am live. And now I really believe it because people see me. They see Nina. And Nancy's right behind me.
Hello.
And Nancy is going to be leading a big chunk of this with Nina. And they're good friends. And this is going to be good because this is, I guess it's Investor Series number 8. And it's kind of funny that this one is not about the world outside in our own kind of contemplation and kind of the intricacies of things. This one's really about the world inside. So it's still Investor Series, and it's also a little bit of fitness because a lot of people might know I'm really into fitness, and you can't buy your way out of bad emotional fitness, and you can't buy your way out of bad physical fitness. So this is where we are now. Nina, thank you so much for being here. This is so exciting for me. Nancy, I'm going to let you get in the screen now, and then we're going to switch seats.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam.
Hi, Nina.
Hey, Nancy. Nice to see you.
You too. I'm so excited to have you here. I think the last time we saw each other was in the Bahamas in February when things were sort of still normal.
Kind of. And they were going downhill fast.
They were going downhill. Then when I came back to New York, it was all changed. But we're here and I'm happy. Would you mind introducing yourself to people that might not know who you are too well?
Well, I'm Nina Rao, and there are probably a lot of Nina Raos in the world. But I'm Nina Rao. I'm Nancy and Adam's friend. I live in Brooklyn, New York. And I chant Kirtan and chant bhajans. And that is how I actually met Nancy when she and Adam both came they used to come when we had in-person events to our regular weekly Kirtans. And they've asked me to join them this morning, I think to talk about chanting, or maybe to talk about other things. But I'm happy to be with you. I think there are people from India, and I just want to say I really miss being in India. I've been going to India every year, at least once for so many years, and it feels really sad to not be able to be there. So I hope you all are doing well.
Thank you, Nina. And we're so lucky to have you here. And yes, we did meet. I think the first time I saw you, it was with Krishna Das in 2018 at St. Andrews. And for me, it was life-changing. I had never been to a kirtan. And actually, I have to say, sorry, but I actually didn't come to see Krishna Das. I actually came to see Anna Dolma, Anna Choyang Drolma.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes.
Ani Choyang Drolma. Yeah.
Yes. Who had seen before in Washington. And then they said, okay, now we're going to have Krishna Das. I'm like, who's Krishna Das? And that was it for me. As you know, I've been everywhere with you. So thank you for that. It was life-changing in a really beautiful way. And we have a lot of people from India here and overseas, and I know it's nighttime there. So I was wondering if we could start with a Hanuman Chalisa. And if you would just maybe say a few words about maybe its meaning, or I know on New Year's Day we chanted together in the Tibet house 108 Hanumans, and I was wondering the significance of that number. If you could maybe speak about that.
Yeah. There are probably people in the audience who know better than me what is the exact significance of 108. It has something to do with astronomy and astrology in terms of making it an auspicious number, something to do with the distance between the sun and the planets and things, which I actually don't know. But ever since I've gone to my guru's ashram in India, which for those of you who are familiar with India, it's in the foothills of the Himalayas in the Kumaon Hills. It's near Nainital, and the temple is called Kainchi Dham. And it is the temple of Sri Neem Karori Baba. You see him here. And next to him is Sri Siddhima, who I didn't actually meet Neem Karoli Baba in the body. I met him by being with Krishna Das, singing with Krishna Das first in 1996. And it was after many years of not having chanted. When I was a child, I did chant with my grandfather in Karnataka, Kerala border is where my village of where my grandfather lived. And when we had gone on vacation, he had chanted with us, and I really felt a connection to the chanting practice. But our family was heading towards the West, and I got involved in my studies and my career, so to speak. And I ended up, we didn't really do that practice in our home. We did simple pujas, but we didn't really chant Kirtan at home together as a family. Sometimes when we went to temples, maybe. But then when I heard Krishna Das again, after many years, when I heard him chanting for the first time, but second time for me, like being in that space of chanting with a group of people, I got immediately pulled back into that space inside our hearts that the chanting can take us to. And we all have it. It's a divine space that's invoked by the divine names. And when I wanted to find out more about it, Krishnadas shared his story about his time with Neem Karoli Baba, who was a saint who left the body in 1973. But he's very well known these days for having been a siddha with powers that we can't imagine, and I don't really think about, except for the fact that people said whenever they were with him, they felt not only unconditional love from him, excuse me, but also they were able to open their hearts to everybody else around them in a different way than they ever had before. And something like that I could feel just through Krishna Das's chanting. Oh, thank you. I see the question. Who is Krishna Das? Good question. So Krishna Das is a very well-known chanter of traditional Indian Kirtan in his Western sort of style. And he brought chanting to America, I'd say in the mid-1990s, in a way via the yoga studios. That was the time when yoga was booming in the West. And he started to offer free satsangs in America in different places, mostly in New York at first, which is how I met him while I was practicing yoga. And his guru was Neem Karoli Baba. So if you want to find out more about that, best thing to do is to see if you can find a documentary called One Track Heart, the story of Krishna Das. And that'll give you some more background about him and his relationship with Neem Karoli Baba, who he calls Maharaji, and so do I. And when I met Krishna Das, I had such a yearning to go to the source of where he was feeling this devotion that I wanted to go to Kenchi, even though Maharaji was not in the body anymore. So I went, and it was there that I met Sri Siddhima in this photograph, who took care of Maharaji for 40 years while he was in the body. And when he left, he entrusted the care of the temples to her. And what she did was she kept the love for Maharaji alive, not only in her heart, but with all the devotees who had been with Maharaji and were grieving the loss from him leaving the body. And so that was back from 1973 onwards. I met her in 1998. And when I met her, I felt like I had come home. And it was a very important turning point in my life to find her, or for her to find me as my guru. And though she never took any kind of acknowledgement for herself as a saint, I consider her so. She always said, I don't know anything, I only can say what Maharaji told me. But she has been my guiding light for all the years that I saw her after that, until she left the body herself in 2017 in December. And but she still lives in my heart and many others, as does Maharaji. And the main practice that she gave us was the chanting of the Hanuman Chalisa. For those of you who don't know what the Hanuman Chalisa is, it's a very sacred prayer that many people in India who follow the Indian sort of Hindu tradition will practice. It is 40 verses in praise of Hanuman. And Hanuman is a divine being who we get to meet and experience in a very sacred text called the Ramayana, or the Ramcharitmanas, as it was written by Tulsidas, who was a poet saint. It is said that the Hanuman Chalisa is also written by Tulsidas. There's a little bit of debate about that. But the Hanuman Chalisa invokes the qualities in Hanuman that we admire and that he needs to be reminded of because of certain things that happen in the story of the Ramayana, that he, at a crucial point, he needs to be reminded of his strength, his courage, his wisdom, his discernment, his open-heartedness, all that, so that he can be in full service to Sri Ram. As we sing this prayer, though, Maharaji and Bodhsiddhima said that the Hanuman Chalisa is Maha Mantra, which means that it has the ability to transform us from the inside out. And you can take their word for it, or you can do it as a practice, as I have for many years now. And it is my path and my refuge and my destination, all rolled into one. I chant all kinds of mantras, but this is my main practice, my core practice. And so Adam and Nancy have asked me to share it with you, so that's what I'll do. Those of you who know it, please sing along. If you would like to see the words for it, and you have another window to open without disrupting this, it is on my website, which is neenarauchant.com/Hanuman Chalisa. Otherwise, just close your eyes and listen. It's okay. Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Mangalamurati Marutanandan Sakala Mangalamula Nikandan Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudhari Barano Raghubara Bimala Jasu Jodayaku Palachari Buddhahin Tanu Janike Sumerom Pavana Kumara Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Klesha Vikar Siyavara Ramachandra Pada Jai Sharanam जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर, जय कपीश तिहु लोक उजागर, रामदूत अतुलित बल धाम, अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नाम, महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी, कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी, कांचन वरन विराज सुवेसा, कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा, हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराजे, कांडे मूज जनेऊ साजे, शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन, तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन, विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर, राम काज करिबे को आतुर, प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया, राम लखन सीता मन बसिया, सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा, विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा, भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे, रामचंद्र जी के काज संवारे, लाया सजीवन लखन जियाए, श्री रघुवीर हरषि उर लाए, रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई, तुम मम प्रिय भरत सम भाई, सहस बदन तुम रोजस गावे, अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे, सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा, नारद शारद सहित अहिसा, यम कुबेर दिगपाल जहांते, कवि कोविद कहि सके कहांते, तुम उपकार सुग्रीवन कीना, राम मिलाया राजपद दीना, तुम्हारो मंत्र विभीषण माना, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना, युग सहस्र जो जन पर भानु, नील्योताहि मधुर फल जानु, प्रभु मुद्रिका मिले मुख माहि, जलधि लांघि गए अचरज नाहि, दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगमानुग्रह तुम्हारे तेते, राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे, होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे, सब सुख लाए तुम्हारी शरण, तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना, आपन तेज समारो आपे, तीनों लोक हांकते कांपे, भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे, नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा, संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम भजन ध्यान जो लावे, सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साज, और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोए अमित जीवन फल पावे, चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा, हे परसिद्ध जगत उजियार, साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निखंडन राम दुलारे, अष्ट सिद्धि नौ निधि के दाता, असबर दीन जानकी माता, राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दास, तुम्हारे भजन राम जी को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे, अंतकाल रघुवर पुर जाय, जहन जन्म हरि भक्त कहाय, और देवता चित्तन डरहि, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करे, संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमेरे हनुमत बलबीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाय, जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई, झूठहि बंदी महासुख होय, जो यहाँ पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होया सिद्धि साकी गौरी सा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, कीजे नाथ हृदय मह डेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरण, मंगल मूर्ति रूपा, राम लखन सीता सहिता, हृदय बसहु सुरभु। सियावर रामचंद्र पद जय शरणम, श्री राम जय जय राम, 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 श्री राम जय राम, श्री राम जय राम, श्री राम जय राम, श्री राम जय राम। श्री 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 बजरंगबली हनुमान की जय, श्री 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 पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, श्री 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 संकट मोचन हनुमान की जय, सियावर रामचंद्र जी की जय।
Nina, beautiful. Thank you. Oh my goodness. That made my year. Thank you. Beautiful. And we have beautiful comments. So thank you. And thank you. Party Fruit USA actually posted your website with the how to get the word. So thank you so much.
Great.
We have I can't even say how many we have. Bravo, beautiful. Have more of these in the future, Adam. Have more of these in the future, which is something I really want to do because Adam always has great ones like physical fitness. I think we should do a series on spiritual fitness. This was the kickoff one. I love it. Nina, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
When she is a banker.
Oh, yeah. Adam actually, and I had some questions for you that we've always been curious. I know you said you chanted with your grandfather when you were 9. Then I believe, I'm not sure if this is correct, you might have gotten a little out of chanting until you met KD Krishna Das in 1996. And I know somewhere in between there you were in banking. Adam's very interested in banking. So I was wondering if you could just maybe speak about that journey a little, how you went from chanting to banking back to chanting.
How has it improved your life?
And Adam says, and how it has it improved your life?
Right. Well, when I chanted with my grandfather, I was really a kid. And my father was very keen for my sisters and I to come and live in America because he felt that we would have a better chance to pursue our studies and career here as women, compared to the time in which he had grown up and he started his career. So we kind of the way my father's job was, he was an executive with Air India, and we traveled around from country to country for many years. So in the first 20 years of my life, I actually spent only 10 in India. The rest of the time we were abroad in different countries. So we didn't really have much of a chance, to continue to chant. And as I said before, my parents weren't really using kirtan as a way to do their practice. We would do simple pujas at home, which many Indian families are used to doing, like a simple arti and offering the food to the deities and so forth. But we didn't sing. So I sort of heard my grandfather for a few years until I was about a teenager. And I happened to make a recording, those tape recorders they used to have with like 4 buttons: play, record, rewind, fast forward, stop. Okay, 5 buttons. I had tapes, so I recorded him. I don't know why I did, but I did. And those tapes I kept with me all those years afterwards. And after I finished college in Mumbai, that's where I went to college. I did a degree in economics, and I thought I was going to do an MBA after that when I came to America. But I got here, and I realized that I wasn't going to really be able to afford to do an MBA. So I decided to take a job. And I always knew I would do some kind of management, administrative. I had no idea what I was going to do. But at the time, I had many friends from India who had come to live here, and they were all working in banking and investment banks and various related kind of businesses. And for whatever reason, when I picked up the New York Times, because that's how we looked for jobs back then, in the classified column, there was an advertisement for a positions clerk on the trading floor of a foreign exchange bank, a Japanese bank. So, and the only qualification they required was that I knew how to use Lotus 123. That was back then.
Right.
And so I did. I had actually learned that. And so I went for my interview, and the woman who hired me is still one of my very close friends. And so I started my very first paid job full-time as doing that. And then it went on into, it changed very quickly. And I was a trader for a while. And for me, God bless people who find this enhancing to their lives. I'm totally, if that's what's good for you, that's good but it wasn't for me. I really had a burnout, and I realized that I really wanted to do something that was not that. And it was just too much pressure in a particular way that I didn't want to have. The subject matter just didn't interest me. So I was dealing with that at the time. I mean, I love sociology, economics, and so forth, but trading specifically was just not my path, and that's okay. And to deal with that was going on in my life, I started actually practicing yoga. Because at the very same time, towards the mid-90s, early 90s, yoga was being offered much more widely, even in gyms. So I used to go to a health club, and they had yoga classes, which is where I met my first yoga teacher, who already had been exposed to chanting in the West, not from India, but in the West. There were people who had already begun chanting, including Krishna Das. And the yoga I found very helpful to me for, first of all, a lot of things happened. My breathing regulated. My diet changes happened very naturally also. It wasn't even something that I had to force myself to do, but I didn't feel like smoking anymore. I never really drank very much, but smoking cigarettes was something that I had gotten attached to at the time. And a lot of things changed. So, and it happened naturally. And that was the beauty of it. Like, I almost didn't even notice that it happened. But as the yoga continued to go on, when I met Krishnadas, I started chanting regularly with him. And I realized that really, this is my wellness practice, is chanting. I still do physical practices like asana and other cardiovascular and weight lifts and stuff like that. But Mostly, this is my practice for my own overall well-being. And I've spent so many years now doing this that it only deepens my faith in the practice. So that's a long answer to your question.
Perfect.
There's some questions there.
Yes, I'm going to take some questions actually. There you go. Why do you think yoga exploded in the United States in the 90s and 2000s?
I can't really say, except that for whatever karmic reason, it was the right time. But Eastern teachings have come to the West, since the late 1800s, as far as we can tell, from the time when Swami Vivekananda came here and brought Sri Ramakrishna's teachings. But we've also had students of BKS Iyengar and Sri Patabi Joyce and Desikachar and various other Hatha Yoga teachers who had students who went to India and studied with them and brought it across. And then there's the Beatles and, Paramahansa Yogananda's book. And so the Eastern teachings were very much a part of the West for many years during the time of the hippies. And it became part of college curriculum in many universities in America as well. And maybe it was just time for a different kind of physical practice. And, people were working out in gyms was a big thing when I moved here, I don't know how it was before that, but it was like something everybody did. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to build muscles, but everybody did it for their own physical well-being. So it seems kind of natural that the yoga would then enter into that sphere because it is good for your body. And, you feel good, you get flexible, you get strong, you breathe better. So I guess it was just the time. I don't know.
Great. There's another yoga question. Do you draw parallels between Japa Yoga and the American New Thought movement?
I'm not really sure what the American New Thought movement, if you want, they can expand on that. But japa, if they're expressing that as repetition of the name, as a means of meditation, then yes, I think that everything I do, while I sang the Hanuman Chalisa today, another part of my practice is japa. Japa is the repetition of a mantra.
Right.
Generally speaking, if it is part of your practice, you would choose one mantra and you would repeat it a certain number of times, certain times during the day, and so forth. So I'm not sure what the American New Thought movement is, so I don't know if that helps at all.
Thank you. So Rising Serpent, if you would like to expand on that, that would be great. And I'm going to take one comment and then I have a question to ask you that I'm very curious about. I'm a Christian who uses much of what God has provided us spiritually, such as yoga and metaphysics. I guess that's more of a comment than a question, actually.
Well, I'm with you there, Mustang girl. I went to school, actually, many Christian schools. And actually, this might be a link between the time I was with my grandfather and when I met Krishnadas again. We traveled abroad so many places. We went to English-speaking schools that were Christian schools. And during library period, all I wanted to do was read stories of Jesus because they had those books. And when the kids went to chapel for prayers, I wanted to go. But they wouldn't let me because I wasn't Catholic, And then finally I said, well, listen, I know I'm not Catholic, but I really want to come and sing the hymns. And I want to hear the readings from the Bible. And so they asked me. They said, sure, you can come. So I believe also in taking whatever spiritual blessings we can get from whatever teachings we might come across.
Thank you. And I have, did you also absorb the meaning when you started chanting at 9?
I don't think I have absorbed the meaning. I think that ultimately, when we fully absorb the meaning of what we're chanting, is when the wisdom is complete within us. And they call that enlightenment, if you want to call it that. And I I think it's a long journey, and I think all of us are on that journey, and I don't know how many lifetimes it will take. But it's what as I said before, the more I chant, the more faith I have in it, the more it develops my devotion towards the chant, which is basically the writing on the wall of my own heart, all of our hearts.
Thank you, Nina. Beautiful. We have more questions, but I just have one of my own before we get to other people's questions. Thank you so much, everybody. These questions are great. Naked Poet, too. Thank you. We share a passion in tigers, I think, and you have Saving Wild Tigers as a wonderful volunteer nonprofit that does great work. I believe that India has a lot of the world's wild tiger population, and I was just wondering about if you could talk about your nonprofit.
Sure. So it's savingwildtigers.org, and it's a nonprofit that's based in the United States. And it started when, after I left banking, I had a travel company where I took people around the world to see natural places, mostly national parks in East Africa, Southern Africa, and also India. And when I took them to India, I wanted very much it also included Nepal. I wanted very much for any money that I made that was supporting me, of course, but also for a portion of the proceeds to go directly towards tiger conservation in India. That's why I established this organization. And what I did was I spent a fair amount of time talking to various conservationists on the ground in India, because as Nancy said, other than the fact that the tiger is a beautiful animal, India is also the most viable home for the wild tiger in the world. While there are more tigers in captivity in America, if you can imagine, than there are in the wild in India, that doesn't serve to really save the species, because a species can't exist exclusive of its environment. And if we're all involved in wanting to preserve whatever nature has provided us that we cannot recreate, there is just no way that we can recreate it. If we preserve the wild tiger in its habitat, then we can preserve all the creatures within that habitat and the habitat itself. So that is really the ultimate goal of saving wild tigers. It's not just tigers. And so every year I went back to India, I would go and see Siddhima, but I also traveled to the parks. And what I do now in America is, it's a volunteer organization. It's basically just 3 of us. And my co-chairman is Sunil Somalwar. He was a physics professor at Rutgers University here in New Jersey. And my sister Serena helps me with all of our online stuff. And I've kind of blended my 2 worlds of chanting and saving wild tigers into one place. So I'm just trying to create more awareness about preservation of the natural world, also raise money, and all the money, we don't keep anything for ourselves, goes directly, for example, to an organization called CWS India, which is Center for Wildlife Studies, that supports Dr. Ulas Karanth and his daughter Kriti Karanth for their work, but others in India as well.
Thank you, Nina. That's a wonderful organization. And the questions are rolling in. So is there a specific chant against fear?
Yes. We just did it. I mean, there are many. That's the Hanuman Chalisa is chanted in India specifically as he is a remover of obstacles, in the similar way to chanting mantras for Ganesh. Same is Hanuman. He is the remover of obstacles. And one of our greatest obstacles on our life path is fear that lives in our own hearts. We have no control over what goes on the outside. To a certain degree, we do what we can to help circumstances. We can take care of our bodies in the best way we can. We can take care of our families. But fear itself, that emotion of fear, is something we can handle. And if we can separate ourselves a little bit from the fear by just being a witness of it, using a chant practice such as chanting the Hanuman Chalisa can help. There's also prayers to the goddess, Durga Devi, that might resonate with you as well. But any of these mantras, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Om Namah Shivaya, any of them, they're all chants that strengthen our hearts. And that includes helping us deal with fear. But specifically, the Hanuman Chalisa, I think, is very useful.
Thank you, Nina. We're now going to go with something that Adam started called the speed round, because we have tons of questions coming in. So we're going to do, we're taking this one first, and here's Adam.
And we're going to rip through them because there's a lot of questions, and I want to be so respectful of everybody here. And this is everyone's lunchtime or dinner time or after dinner time. And there's so much here that we're just going to go speed round like that.
Okay,
like
one word answers.
No, more than one.
No,
word.
that's too fast. But imagine Family Feud, but it's only your side, right? There's no other side. Okay, so Nancy, rip through the question.
Have you ever experienced Shaktipat?
Not that I know
of. We are wondering if you're familiar with Reiki.
Reiki, yes. My mother does Reiki, and so does my sister. They both practice it.
I'm going to help Nancy out a little bit with the questions because there's just so many. So now I'm going to scroll up here. And this one was Steve Jobs, Nancy?
Yeah.
Okay. So Akshada Deo, and I think I recognize that picture. So thank you so much for being here. It says Steve Jobs mentioned in many interviews back in the 1990s about the spiritual experience in India.
Yeah, he actually went to Kainchi to meet Maharaji, but he didn't end up meeting him.
Wow. Okay. That was really quick. Okay. So now, hey, Mustang, I see you again and again. Thank you so much for being here. For myself, it was a need for calm and emotional strength, core strength, and grounding.
Great.
And
have you experienced on another dimension beyond physics while being in a deep state of sadhana?
A deep state of sadhana?
Yes.
A lot of the time that we do practice is spent, and the truth of the matter is like letting go of our thoughts. That's the truth of our reality in which we live in this world. We can do our practice, but if you're noticing, a lot of the time we're actually thinking about things. And there are moments, though, when all you're doing is the chant. So when that moment arises, I guess we're in another dimension.
And Nina, you are wonderful at that because, we also watch a lot of your videos on YouTube and we practice our own pronunciations. And I've got a lot to learn after listening to you today. Wow. So we're going to go through a couple of more questions here. And
Sure.
And Nancy clicks this one. So SK098, I recognize that picture. So thank you so much for being here. It says because of a stress or because of interest or both.
You mean, I think maybe his question is, are you doing the practices? Do you think that's what his question is?
Yes.
I don't know. I was just pulled in that direction. I have to say, they say that the guru finds you. And so I just keep trying to turn in that direction more and more.
And this is not a question, it's a comment. So this is an easy one-worder for you. Sona Kushe? Kushe. And I'm going to mispronounce the name, but I apologize. Well, I have a little bit of a lisp. So I have difficulty even saying my own name, Adam Townsend, because that S is a little bit insane. So her comment is, she says, thank you. And thank you so much for being here. So, I'm going to have to go through. What is your thoughts on this? And Mumbai Care says, yoga is realizing yourself consciously.
Mm-hmm. My thoughts on this are that yoga, no matter what path of yoga we choose, there's a practice that has to be done. If you don't do practice, nothing's going to happen. So in that sense, yes, it's conscious, but the practice itself is what transforms us.
And thank you so much. And Podcast Notes, who's so wonderful, and we're speaking offline as well, says, what is your perspective on psychedelics?
I really don't have one, to be honest. I've never taken them. I might have tried a little bit of pot sometime in my life, and that's the extent of it. So I am not an expert. But Ram Dass talked about that a lot, and you could read about that from him. I don't. It's not something that I engage in.
And there's a couple more. There's a lot more, but I'm going to kind of have to pick through them. So this is a really interesting one.
Any advice on cultivating a practice of chanting with others at home, especially teenagers? There you go.
And before I allow you to respond to that, I want to share with everybody something I think is so beautiful. So it's a quick video I'm just going to put up here. And it's Nina with her significant other, and then her most significant, which is Uma, which is her daughter.
This is one of my favorite, Nina, I have to tell you.
So I'm going to just find that really quickly, and I'm going to share 2 seconds of it with everybody. Jai Guru Maharani. That's beautiful. So with that in mind, thank you so much for being here, Nancy, and it's all yours. You take it over.
Oh, okay.
Any advice? So I'll tell you what Siddhima said to me when Uma was born. This is my daughter, and I took her to see Siddhima when she was 4.5 months old. And all that Siddhima said to me, she said, keep doing your practice with your baby in your lap, as much as you can. And so I did, while I was nursing her, when I fed her, when I pushed her on the swing. I didn't ask her to do it with me. I just did it myself. And what happened over time was it just became a part of her. And I found that when, as a teenager, she doesn't come to everything, and she doesn't really, I guess I would say, don't try to force them to do it, which I'm sure you're not forcing them, but even to prescribe it is not always the best thing. But if your teenager has a particular moment might be difficult, I would say to Uma, for example, if you're having anxiety and you can't sleep, take your mala, lie down, and do your mantra. And there are so many mantras. You can suggest something to your children, or just have them sit with you, and just say, like, try it, or listen in your ear pods. It's something that they have to do on their own. It's not easy to make them do it. They're just growing into themselves. But Uma just left for her college dorm, and I didn't say a word to her, but she asked me for a tablecloth for her puja table. And a little Hanumanji. She had an altar in her room anyway, and she took everything with her, and it's right next to her computer where she's doing all her virtual classes. So
that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And Sean is now 40, so I'd have to, our son, yeah. So I'd have to really twist his arm, and he could twist mine. He can twist mine a lot harder, so it may not be easy.
It's never too late.
I know.
Have you found any commonality between the philosophy of Samantha Dharma and Stoicism?
Stoicism. It's interesting. That's an interesting question. There are 2 things I would address in that question. And one is that, as far as I understand it, Sanatana Dharma, in its most simplified form, is to find your path. And you have to look into your own heart to know what that is. And for most of us, it involves, and it should for everyone, trying to show the most amount of compassion that you can for yourself, your family, your friends, everybody that extends outside of that circle, and basically the whole world. So on that level, in order to do that, The stoicism here comes in when you have to think about someone else instead of yourself all the time. So rather than using stoicism as a word, because stoicism implies a certain amount of tapasya on one's part, of having to give up certain things, and it might even feel a little negative. But I consider that as an offering. If there are some things that we can naturally let fall away so that we can offer to someone else, that's where they cross over.
Thank you. Apart from the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas, what other spiritual literature would you recommend?
You know, Deepak, who shares my last name, it seems like, when I did stay at my grandfather's home, when I was a child, I was lucky to find English translations, because I cannot read Kannada, which is my family's language, of the Ramayana as well as the Mahabharata and all of Krishna Leelas. And the other thing that I really do love to read nowadays is the Chandi Path, which is the prayers to the goddess that are chanted during Devi Navratri. I think they're very helpful and useful for people. So I would say spend your time with all the many different versions there are of all these sacred texts.
And we're gonna rip through a couple more. I'm here. I'm right here. Just so everybody knows, I'm not just a voice.
How could you not be?
I know. I'm so persistent, and I'm certainly aggravating to Nancy. So after all this, I know I owe her like a big lunch and dinner, and I let her beat me in Scrabble after this also. So there's a lot of questions here. And
My poor mama. I myself and many people I know get started on yoga, chanting, and other spiritual thoughts past 40.
Excellent. Keep going. You have a long time still to go. Keep it up.
And how could we get folks started earlier? This is a continuation, I guess, of the last question, as it would help them handle stress better.
You know, I'm not sure what kind of work that you do. One of the things that we found helpful to do here in the West is introducing children to yoga and meditation in schools. So already it becomes an acceptable practice for all children to do together and doesn't seem weird. Also, many corporations now are bringing it into their, extracurricular activity for their own employees.
We're going to go through a couple more. So hold on. I'm helping Nancy out with this because it's actually kind of difficult to do this part, to look at questions on one side and also look at lovely Nina in front
You're
of us.
doing it well.
Thank you. Try cultivating by making them experience small spiritual moments like chanting for a few minutes.
And that's from Lombok here. So thank you so much for being here.
Great idea.
And Kushvant M says, we can see a photo behind you with Deepam. Is that of your spiritual guru, Mom?
Yes, it is. Hold on.
Okay.
That's Sri Siddhima.
Beautiful.
And it wouldn't be complete without showing everybody a photograph.
Oh, yes.
Of Neem Karoli Baba.
Oh, thank you so much. Beautiful.
Raitao Yagami says, what is success according to Sanatana Dharma?
Find peace in your heart.
Thank them for being there because they're awesome. Right here.
And DV9999 says, Hari, I'm so happy to be here with you all. Thank you for being here.
And this is something from Kevin, and thank you so much, Namaste, for being here. And I'm still here. I'm right here. So this is so true. I went to a Quaker school. I went to Friends Seminary.
And Quaker.
Yeah, and there was, before every class began, it was like 15 minutes of meditation, of silent meditation, which was literally the best part of my day. I really enjoyed it. It really does help you focus. And it's odd that this is part of an investor series because it's kind of discontinuous in a way because I'm also doing a fitness thing. But investing is all about tomorrow, and you can't have a tomorrow, without the awareness of its approaching. So Kevin, thank you so much for being here. Kevin says, I wish there was more emphasis on relaxation and breath work, meditation, silent, and meditation, silent meditation.
Okay, well, maybe Adam will bring that to you with someone who will talk about that. I'll only say that chanting is a means to finding that silent meditative space. If it's a path for you, it may not be.
And my poor mama, maybe by actively partnering with corporate wellness programs, we can enlarge yoga, chanting early.
Yeah.
We can encourage.
Oh, encourage, sorry. Yoga and chanting early.
Sure.
And
I know my work actually brought yoga for a while. We had yoga once a week, was the highlight of my work week.
So much is dependent on the person. It's not for everybody, and it doesn't have to be.
Right.
So we are, I want to be respectful of everybody's time.
I love this Kannada comment. Thank you.
I know.
Okay.
What's the situation of tigers in Bangladesh?
That's a good question, and I don't have the answer for it. The only thing I do know is that the Sundarbans forest, the rainforest that borders both countries, India as well as Bangladesh, is highly protected in India on the Indian side. But they are also not without their own problems. So I'm not really sure what it is like in Bangladesh, but I'm assuming the tigers can roam across borders if they want.
And we're going to do one last question.
And we picked this one because Nina, I can't imagine in my head you ever getting angry. So it says, how do you react to the people? Like whether you get angry ever.
I do get angry. Come and live in my house, Nancy. No, my father had not a very good temper, and we were all, he had beautiful qualities, but he had a very short fuse. And what I wanted very much was, as this is part of my practice also, is to find a way to lengthen that fuse. Anger is not a bad thing. Sometimes you need anger to activate in a certain way. But then when you have children, or you want to maintain a good work environment, it doesn't help to just go around being angry with everybody, right? So it's very helpful to take a moment to just wait before you respond. But sometimes we don't have that ability. It's just that buffer is not there. But I have found that as I've done more and more practice, that awareness, like Ram Dass calls it loving awareness, actually expands. And you find a way to deal with people better than you might have been before. How do I react to people? I like to just try to see who they are.
And we're going to close up with just two quick things because they're so thoughtful. And Noble Tweet said, yeah. So, and Rising Serpent, and thank you again so much for being here, says, so needed this today. And I agree. We all do.
Me too.
Me too. Me too.
I know. And I'm here, just so everyone knows, I'm actually really here. I'm really here.
Adam.
I know. So we have gone almost exactly 1 hour, 1 minute away from an hour. And I know in India, it's pretty late. And I want to be respectful of everybody's time because in America, it's kind of that lunchtime type of thing.
I want to say hi to Patricide because he said Team Nancy. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. I'm on that team also.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm on Team Nina.
Yeah. I'm on Team Nina also, but I'm on Team Nancy always. So we absolutely love Nina. Nina's so thoughtful, and Nancy spent a lot of time with her, and we're so appreciative of her time. and now time virtually also, right? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're still watching you virtually, even though, I so miss the in-person
True.
kirtans and ashrams. Oh, but it's
So do we.
I
Yeah.
know. But thank you so much for continuing to do them virtually. At least we have that something to, I
Yeah.
watch them all the time.
Maybe I'll see you Friday. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nina, could you let everybody know how to find you? Would that be all right?
Yeah. So I'm right here. But my website is ninaraochant.com. NINARAOCHANT.com. And I'm doing a lot of chanting these days on Facebook, on Instagram, and some private events as well that are virtual. So you'll find it all on my website. And I have an e-news that goes out once a month, which makes it easier to keep in the loop of what's happening.
And Nina, and let me just make sure people can see me here also. If people would like to learn more of Tigers, the nonprofit, and
the website. Right?
yeah, the website, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Thank you, Adam. So the website is savingwildtigers.org. Savingwildtigers.org. Not to be mistaken with others that are called Save the Tiger. There are lots of very similar names, so just be careful. It's savingwildtigers.org. And for those of you who are in India, I really urge you to take a look at what's going on in the country there. There are some amazing conservationists doing work. You can look at Sanctuary Asia. You'll find a lot of information about the work in India.
And so
and you did a beautiful benefit concert, sacred music for Sacred Forest. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's online. It's on the Saving Wild Tigers website, so people can watch it if they like. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of videos of you on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. I do have a YouTube channel. Thank you.
You do, and sometimes Nancy finds herself in the backgrounds of some of those videos too. So that's also pretty funny.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know if you get Spotify and iTunes and all these things. My albums are up on that as well. I have 2 albums, Antaryami and Anubhav. They're both up there too.
Yeah, yeah, and I think Nancy became a part of your album even before it launched, wasn't that right? Or right when it launched, I remember you were doing something with it.
Oh,
so
yeah, we have it. You sent it to me. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Oh yeah, I did a Kickstarter to raise money for it. Yeah, like a pre-sale. Yeah.
And so we're going to close up because it's been an hour and 2 minutes, and I'm going to ask.
So fast.
I know. I'm going to ask Nina if she wants to close up with a kind of a farewell to today, to this moment's chant, or not, because it's a horrible imposition, and I just surprised you with it.
I can sing some just for a few minutes if you would like to do that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then we're going to close up with that.
I'll stop and you can just end it, and that'll be fine. Is that okay?
Let's aim it. It's approximately 103 and a half o'clock right now in the US. So let's aim for, let's say 3 or 4 minutes. Would that be all right with everybody?
No problem.
And I'm just going to see, as you get ready for that, if there's anything else. Actually, this came out kind of nice. Somebody, thank you. That was so thoughtful of you to include Nina's website. And I go there often because sometimes I'll discover a song of hers and I need the lyrics so I can enjoy it and enjoy its melody. So that is it. And then, so SKO98, and I recognize that picture, so thank you so much for being here, contributed that, and that was really awesome. And then I can barely see the name, so it looks like
Sumeka G1
says, will you do a minute of Radhe Radhe?
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what comes out of my mouth right now.
Okay, and I am just gonna go as you get ready for that. Somebody says, Sonali, thank you so much for being here. Says it's 1 a.m. in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Is it really?
Go to sleep. I'll sing a little lullaby.
Yeah. And Milton, thank you so much for being here. Says thanks, Adam, and she has such a wonderful name, so I'm so happy every time I see it. So thank you all also for being here. And whenever you're ready for the song, we'll close up with that, and let's aim for that 3 minutes if we can. If you want to go over, or and everybody else
Fine.
can, however everybody wants to do it. And I want to thank you. So again, everybody, so much for being here, and this was very exciting. And hopefully, we can all invest in ourselves just as much as we look to invest in others and in the markets.
That's
Thank
an
you.
important point. Yeah. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Nancy. Namaste, Kevin, and everybody. And we'll just close with a chant to the mother, the great mother, Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. 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 Mahadevi Lalita. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Mahadevi Lalita. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Jaya Jagatambe Ma Durga. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Jaya Jagatambe Ma Durga. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Chamunde Kali Durga Ma. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Chamunde Kali Durga Ma. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Tripura Sundari Padma. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Bhairavi Jagatarini Ma. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Tripura Sundari Padma. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Bhairavi Jagatarini Ma. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Jaya Jagadambe Ma Durga. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Shri 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 Jagat Janani Jagadamba Shri Siddhi Mata Ji ki Jai. Shri 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 Ananta Koti Baba Shri Neem Karori Sant Maharaj ki Jai. Sab Sanatan Dharma ki Jai.
Thank you, Nina.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Bye, Adam. Bye, Nancy.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us. Bye.